Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA satellite channel. From Marib, here are tonight's top stories.
PLC member and Marib Governor Al Arada discuss humanitarian cooperation and prisoners file with ICRC.
Yemen expresses solidarity with Qatar following deadly gas facility explosion.
Marib marks World Refugee Day and calls for stronger humanitarian support.
Welcome back. Presidential Leadership Council member and Marib Governor Sultan Al Arada met with a delegation from the International Committee of the Red Cross, led by head of delegation in Yemen, Kristen Sipola, to discuss humanitarian conditions and ways to strengthen cooperation. The meeting reviewed the humanitarian situation in Marib amid the continued influx of displaced people from multiple governorates and the growing pressure this places on essential services and infrastructure. Discussions also focused on strengthening cooperation between local authorities and the ICRC to expand humanitarian interventions in priority sectors. Al-Arada praised the ICRC's humanitarian role in Yemen, particularly its efforts in supporting the humanitarian file related to prisoners and detainees and facilitating exchange operations between the parties. He stressed the importance of continuing these efforts and enhancing coordination to advance initiatives aimed at securing the release of prisoners and detainees under the principle of all for all, in line with UN principles and international humanitarian law. Al-Arada reaffirmed his full readiness to provide all necessary support to facilitate the ICRC's humanitarian work, while the ICRC delegation reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening cooperation and expanding humanitarian assistance.
Presidential Leadership Council member Mahmoud Al-Subayhi met in Aden with Japan's ambassador to Yemen, Yuichi Nakashima, to discuss bilateral relations, developments in Yemen and the region, and ways to strengthen cooperation between the two countries. The meeting reviewed political, security, economic and humanitarian developments in Yemen, along with the ongoing challenges facing the government amid continued conflict and accumulated crises affecting public services and living conditions. Al-Subayhi praised the strong historical ties between Yemen and Japan and expressed appreciation for Japan's continued humanitarian and development support for the Yemeni people. He stressed that Yemeni security challenges extend beyond the country's borders, affecting regional security and the safety of international shipping routes and global trade. Al-Subayhi also highlighted the importance of expanding Yemeni-Japanese cooperation, particularly in infrastructure rehabilitation, education, health, capacity building, and local development to support recovery and sustainable development. For his part, Ambassador Nakashima reaffirmed Japan's commitment to supporting Yemen and advancing cooperation in priority sectors to improve living conditions and promote long-term stability.
Presidential Leadership Council member Mahmoud Al-Subayhi met in Aden with a delegation from the International Committee of the Red Cross, led by head of delegation in Yemen, Kristen Sipola, to discuss humanitarian issues and ways to strengthen cooperation. The meeting reviewed several humanitarian priorities, including support for vulnerable communities, protection of civilians, and efforts to improve coordination in delivering humanitarian assistance. Al-Subayhi praised the ICRC's humanitarian role in Yemen and its efforts to ease the suffering of people affected by the war and ongoing humanitarian crisis. He also received a briefing on the ICRC field operations and humanitarian progress across several governorates, including interventions aimed at assisting the most vulnerable groups and promoting respect for international humanitarian law. Subayhi stressed the importance of continued cooperation between government institutions and the ICRC to facilitate aid delivery and address urgent humanitarian concerns, particularly the prisoner and detainee file. He also praised the ICRC's role in facilitating prisoner releases and exchanges, expressing hope for further progress to help reunite families and reduce the suffering of thousands of Yemeni households.
Presidential Leadership Council member and Hadramaut Governor Salem Ahmed Al-Khanbashi reviewed a range of health, development and social welfare initiatives being implemented across Hadramaut. During a meeting with Dr. Qasim Yasser Bahasham, Director of the National Malaria and Vector-Borne Disease Control Program for Hadramaut, Al-Khanbashi received a briefing on ongoing interventions to combat viral fevers, particularly dengue fever in Mukalla and Riyadh wa Qusayra, as well as preparations for mosquito net distribution in displacement camps. Al-Khanbashi praised the program's efforts in combating malaria, dengue, and other viral disease, reaffirming local authorities' support for health interventions and public awareness campaigns. In separate meetings, Al-Khanbashi also reviewed development programs led by Al-Aoun Foundation for Development in Education, Vocational Training, Healthcare, and Civil Society Empowerment, highlighting the importance of linking technical education to labor market needs. He also discussed the work of the Social Welfare Fund in identifying families living below the poverty line and improving aid delivery mechanisms. Al-Khanbashi stressed the importance of accurate beneficiary targeting, stronger coordination with donors and government institutions, and expanding sustainable interventions to improve living conditions across Hadramaut.
Prime Minister Dr. Shaya Mohsin Zindani arrived in Jordan on Monday to participate in the 165th session of the Arab League Council at the ministerial level hosted in the Jordanian capital Amman. The ministerial meeting is expected to discuss the latest political and security developments in the region, shared challenges facing Arab states, and ways to strengthen joint Arab cooperation. Discussions will also cover a number of regional and international issues of common concern, with a focus on enhancing coordination and supporting collective efforts to address current challenges. Ahead of the official ministerial session, Arab foreign ministers are also scheduled to hold a consultative meeting to coordinate positions and exchange views on key agenda items. The consultations aim to reinforce joint Arab actions and support efforts to address regional developments through greater diplomatic coordination. Zindani was received upon arrival by officials from Jordan's foreign ministry, along with Yemen's ambassador to Jordan, Dr. Jalal Faqira, and members at the Yemeni embassy.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates has expressed full solidarity with Qatar following the explosion at a liquefied natural gas facility in Ras Laffan Industrial City, which resulted in deaths and injuries. In a statement, the ministry affirmed Yemen's support for Qatar during this difficult time and praised the efficiency of Qatari authorities in responding to the incident. The ministry also expressed its sincere condolences and deepest sympathy to Qatar's leadership, government, and people, as well as to the families of the victims. Yemen wished a speedy recovery to those injured in the explosion and expressed hope for the continued safety and stability of Qatar. The statement reaffirmed Yemen's support for the brotherly nation, emphasized solidarity in the face of such tragic incidents.
Minister of Industry and Trade Dr. Mohammed Al-Ashwal has stressed the importance of strict compliance with regulatory laws and oversight systems aimed at combating money laundering and terrorism financing. Speaking during the opening of a workshop in Aden titled Gold Traders and Their Role in Combating Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing, Al-Ashwal emphasized the need to raise awareness among workers in the gold and precious metals trade. He described the gold and precious metals sector as one of the country's most vital and sensitive economic sectors, requiring strict regulatory controls to prevent exploitation or illicit activities. Al-Ashwal said regulating the sector is part of the ministry's broader efforts to protect the national economy and strengthen transparency and integrity in commercial activities. The workshop, organized by the National Committee for Combating Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing in cooperation with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, discussed legal requirements, compliance mechanisms, and preventive measures to reduce financial risks in the gold trade sector.
Minister of Water and Environment Tawfiq Al-Sharjabi met in Aden with the head of water unit at the International Organization for Migration, Van Thontifera, to discuss strengthened cooperation and supporting water sector projects. The meeting reviewed key challenges facing the water and sanitation sector under current conditions, as well as urgent humanitarian intervention needs in several governorates. Al-Sharjabi stressed the importance of continued support from international partners, particularly the IOM, to improve the sustainability of the water and sanitation services to help reduce humanitarian pressures. He also praised the organization's ongoing efforts and projects aimed at improving essential services in affected communities. For his part, the IOM official reaffirmed the organization's commitment to continue its interventions in the water sector and supporting government efforts to improve services in vulnerable areas. Tefera noted that IOM is focusing on hosting communities, particularly in Marib, which hosts the largest number of migrants, while also expanding interventions in Aden and Lahj with increased focus on climate-related challenges.
UK Minister for Middle East Hamish Fakir met with UN Special Envoy for Yemen Hans Grunberg in London to discuss the current political situation in Yemen and ongoing efforts to secure lasting peace. During the meeting, Fakir praised Grunberg and his team for their continued efforts to achieve a durable and sustainable peace in Yemen, commending their strong commitment to supporting the Yemeni people. The British minister also outlined the United Kingdom's vision for restoring peace and stability in Yemen, while highlighting ongoing efforts to support maritime security in waters and surrounding the country. These efforts include measures to protect shipping routes and address piracy and smuggling alongside providing assistance to those in need at sea. Fakir also stressed the urgent need for the immediate release of humanitarian workers, diplomats, and staff from the United Nations and non-governmental organizations currently detained in Yemen. Both sides agreed to remain in close contact as diplomatic efforts continue to support peace and stability in Yemen.
Human Access Association Marib organized a special event marking World Refugee Day through its Takaful project with support from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees under the theme Until Everyone is Safe. The event aimed to highlight the conditions of refugees and displaced people, promote solidarity and social coexistence, and emphasize the importance of protection and support for vulnerable communities aimed at continued displacement and migrants. Marib Deputy Governor for Administrative Affairs Sheikh Abdullah Al-Bakri said local authorities under PLC member and Marib Governor Sultan Al-Arada continue to prioritize support for refugees and displaced families despite mounting pressures caused by ongoing population influx. He noted that authorities are working to provide essential services including education, healthcare, electricity, and drinking water to help ease the burden on displaced communities. UNHCR representatives stressed that protecting refugees and displaced people is shared responsibility requiring stronger humanitarian partnerships and coordinated support. Organizers also called for sustainable solutions to address the growing challenges facing refugees and displaced communities and ensure safer and more stable living conditions.
That was the news bulletin from SABA Satellite Channel for Marib. Thank you for watching and have a good time.